Your discipline isn't failing because you're weak. It's failing because every time you force yourself, Carl Jung would say you're committing a quiet act of self-violence, and your mind is fighting back. That war is why your willpower keeps collapsing. The harder you grip discipline, the faster it slips. You wake up Monday with a plan. Wake at 5, train, write. For 3 days, sheer willpower carries you. Then something inside you quietly rebels. You sleep in, you skip the gym, and then comes the part that actually destroys you, the shame.
The voice that says you're lazy, that you'll never change. Jung spent his life studying that exact pattern. What he discovered is that the problem was never your weakness, the problem was your war. Most discipline advice treats you like two people. There's the good you, disciplined, focused, virtuous, and the bad you, lazy, impulsive, weak. The whole strategy is to crush the bad one, beat it into submission. Jung saw this everywhere, and he warned it was a trap, because when you split yourself into a hero and a villain, you've started an internal civil war.
Jung viewed the psyche as a self-regulating system that seeks balance, and he found that when you forcibly suppress one side of yourself, you don't eliminate it, you cut yourself off from its energy, and the tension between the two sides only grows. The effort you spend suppressing one part of yourself is effort you no longer have for the actual task. You're not building discipline, you're burning fuel on a battle you can't win. Jung had a name for the part of you that you exile, the shadow.
It's everything you've decided is unacceptable about yourself. Your laziness, your hunger for comfort, your resistance. Most people think the goal is to defeat the shadow. Jung said that's precisely backwards. The shadow isn't purely your enemy. It's also energy, raw, unrefined, but powerful, and it holds creative potential you've disowned. And when you spend years pushing it down, it doesn't disappear. Jung argued that unacknowledged shadow material accumulates in the unconscious and erupts when you least expect it. That's why you sabotage yourself at the worst moments. That's why the diet ends in a binge. The part of you you refuse to listen to finally takes the wheel. But that's not even the most important part of what Jung discovered. There's a line often attributed to Jung that has become one of the most quoted ideas in popular psychology. What you resist persists. He may never have written those exact words. Careful searches don't find them in his published works. But the idea genuinely captures his thinking about the shadow. The more you fight a part of yourself, the more power it gains. Sit with that for a second. The very act of resisting something can keep it alive. Think about telling yourself all day, do not think about chocolate cake. What happens? You think about nothing else. Psychologists later demonstrated this directly in Daniel Wegner's famous white bear experiments. People told not to think of a white bear ended up thinking about it more than those given no such instruction. He called it the ironic process. When you try to suppress a thought, one part of your mind avoids it, while another part keeps checking whether it's gone, which keeps summoning the very thing you're avoiding. Your willpower becomes a tripwire for the temptation. So when you white-knuckle your discipline, when you spend all day resisting your urge to quit, you can end up feeding that urge with your attention. You're watering the weed you're trying to kill. So here is the rule that follows from Jung's work, and it sounds almost too gentle to work. Stop fighting yourself. Integrate instead. Jung's word for this was integration, the deliberate act of turning toward the part of you that resists, listening to what it actually wants, and bringing it onto your side. Not indulging it, not obeying it, understanding it. Because that resistance is information. The part of you that wants to skip the gym isn't evil. It might be exhausted. It might be afraid of failing. It might be telling you the plan itself is unsustainable.
When you stop treating that voice as an enemy to silence and start treating it as a messenger to hear, something strange happens. The war ends, and the energy you were spending on the fight comes back to you.
Let's make this concrete, because integration isn't a feeling, it's a practice. Say you keep failing to do your important work in the morning. The old approach, call yourself lazy, set a harsher alarm, push harder. The Jungian approach, get curious. Ask the resistance a direct question. What are you protecting me from? Sit quietly and let the honest answer surface. Often it's something real. The work feels overwhelming because the task is too big. You're avoiding it because part of you believes you'll do it badly.
You're tired because you've been running on willpower for weeks with no rest. Now you have something you can actually work with. You shrink the task, you lower the stakes of the first step, you build in rest so the rebellion never has to start. You didn't defeat the resistance, you worked with it. And a part you've actually listened to has less reason to sabotage you. Here's the deeper truth underneath all of this. Discipline is not just a personality trait.
It's not something the strong simply have and the weak lack. A huge part of discipline is architecture. It's the structure you build around your behavior so that the right action requires the least resistance. Jung understood the psyche as a system seeking balance, and it's far easier to work with that system than against it. So instead of fighting your nature, you design around it. You put the running shoes by the door. You delete the app that drains you. You schedule the hard work for the hour your mind is sharpest. None of this is force. All of it is design.
The disciplined person isn't winning an internal war every single day. They've built a life where the war rarely needs to be fought. Now consider what the war actually costs you over time. Every morning you wake up at war with yourself. You spend a portion of your energy not on living, but on managing the conflict inside you. Jung saw chronic inner division, the split between who we are and who we think we should be, as central to neurosis, and he even called dissociation the root of many neuroses. He believed the psyche keeps trying to restore that balance, which is partly why suppression brings anxiety and that low background hum of exhaustion so many people carry without knowing why. You think you're tired from doing too much. Often you're tired from resisting too much. The person who has made peace with their shadow walks lighter, not because life is easier, but because they're no longer dragging themselves in two directions at once. That's the hidden tax of fake discipline. It doesn't just fail, it drains you while it fails. And this changes what discipline even means. We're taught that discipline is punishment, the thing you do to a self you don't trust.
Jung's work points to the opposite. Real discipline can be a form of self-respect. It's what becomes possible when the different parts of you finally trust each other. You keep your promises to yourself not because you're forcing the lazy part into line, but because there is no longer a part of you desperate to escape. When the comfort seeker, the dreamer, the critic, and the worker all want roughly the same thing, action stops feeling like a fight. It starts feeling like agreement. That is the quiet power Jung was pointing to. Not a stronger whip, a more unified self. So where do you actually begin? Start small and start today.
The next time you feel that wave of resistance, the urge to quit, scroll, delay, don't fight it and don't blindly obey it. Pause. Turn toward it like you'd turn toward a frightened friend. Ask it one question. What do you need right now? Then listen without judgment. Maybe it needs rest. Maybe it needs the task broken in half. Maybe it just needs to be acknowledged before it'll let you move. Give it what's reasonable, then act. Do this enough times and you'll often notice the resistance shrinking, not because you crushed it, but because for once,
it feels heard.
That's integration. That's the end of the war. That's discipline that finally holds. So here's the idea Jung leaves us with. You will rarely outfight yourself into lasting discipline. More often, you out-understand your way there. The part of you that resists isn't only your enemy, it's energy you've been refusing to use. Make peace with it, and it can start working for you instead of against you. If this gave you a quieter way to think about your own mind, stay with us.
This channel is built for exactly this. One real idea at a time, turned down low enough that you can finally hear yourself think. Subscribe and take one honest breath before you go.